good morning. My name is Andrew Van Geest and I'm with AdeptAg, and I work for the Zwart systems irrigation side of the business. Today we are in Clarington, Ontario, just outside of Bowmanville, a little further outside of Toronto, and we are at Record Gardens. This is a 16 acre plus maybe 16 acres outside of mum production in the summer. This is spring. What are we? We are April, just before Easter 2025. So we're in the greenhouse today and we have a couple of different things that we need to address as an irrigation company. We have ebb and flood tables. These are trough tables. They're 150 foot long. We're going to water from the front. It's going to go down the slope and drain off the back and sub-irrigate these plants. We have geraniums, potato vine, New Guinea impatiens. We have a person applying with hand watering, applying an application. On this side we have geraniums, many geraniums. So they're going to be ready to go here in a couple weeks. So we are watering from the front, like I said. We're collecting on the back and we're recirculating all that water. In this area over here, we have what is normally an open space. It's filled with plants. These are going to go out for Easter, probably here in this week yet. And these are being hand watered. We didn't want to put in a drip system and all that for something that's here temporarily once a year. Over in this greenhouse, we have a drip system. We have a drip system feeding ferns on the floor. We have a moving basket system that's watering baskets intermittently when it's on. It's a carousel system. So we have a bunch of different things going on, a bunch of different crops we're dealing with, and we have a bunch of different flow rates. And so we are particular about getting the right recipe to all the plants that need it. And so next we're going to show you how that's accomplished. So we need to water. So what do we need? We need fresh water and we need fertilized water. Now some of these plants require a different pH level. Some of these plants would prefer a different feed level. And so how do we address, and then we have all the different flow rates. Some guy on a hose, 12 gallons a minute, a bunch of booms running, maybe up to 80 gallons a minute, a bunch of drip running. We could be in excess of 500-600 gallons a minute, but we could also be 5 gallons a minute. So if anybody's done injection, you know that that's a challenge. You can buy a proportional injector, you can buy other injectors that you think you're getting the whole range, but when you have that low end, you're not getting a good mixture. When you have the high end, you're getting too thin. It works best in the middle and you're compromising. So we want to take away the compromises. So this is how we do it. We take our fertilizers, 12-0-44, 28-20, 20-20-20, whatever you would want to do. We also have customers that mix their own fertilizers. So they might take so many pounds of potassium, so many pounds of calcium, and they're making their own 15, 13, 18, whatever they want to do. We're going to fill each of these bins in concentration. So this could be our 12-0-44, this could be our 18-6-20, and this is our 28-20. These tanks have agitators, so we're putting in enough fertilizer that will stay soluble. In this case, this grower says 17 bags. 17 bags, 17 50-pound bags, in 2,200 liters of water will keep it soluble. So now, what do we need? We need fresh water. We can't make recipe without fresh water. So if we look in the back of the irrigation room, we see a corrugated silo. That water silo stores fresh water for the farm. We are collecting the rain that we collect on the roof into those silos. Now that's rainwater harvesting. That's another video. We'll talk about that another day. But for the purpose of this video, that's the water we need. So how do we get that water? We have a freshwater pumping station. This freshwater pumping station is a flooded suction to the water silos. When we have water demand, the first pump turns on. When the demand exceeds what that pump can manage, the second pump automatically turns on. When that pump and those two pumps cannot meet or exceed, the third pump comes on. So now we have 3 pumps that can run in stage, so we save some energy. We're on a frequency drive, so we maintain 65 psi, so that the hand watering guy gets the water he wants. And even with the pressure losses that we've designed, we get good pressure at the booms and at the drip system. That's all designed by Zwart Systems, an AdeptAg company. So when we look at that, we're looking at these 3 frequency drives are set to 65 psi. When we can't maintain 65 psi, the second one kicks. When that can't maintain, the third one kicks. So now we have a lot of fresh water ready. Now we have to add it to our fertilizer. At this greenhouse, we are using Argus. We are suppliers of Argus, Priva, Hogan Dorn, Ritter would be 4 platforms that are capable of doing this. So what we have is our 3 stock tanks. We have the 3 suction lines tied to our 3 recipes. We have a variable speed injector, and we have acid injection. If you watch the pH video that we did earlier, you would know that the best way to correct pH is with fertilizer selection. But if you can't select a fertilizer that gets your pH in the range you want it, you may have to add some acid. Very common in the US is to use sulfuric. Very common in Canada is to use nitric. Why? Sulfuric's a little cheaper, nitric's better for the plants. You choose. Makes no difference to me. So, we are injecting fertilizer at a rate. We're adding acid as needed. Argus is controlling it all. So, what we've decided to do here, because we had that problem of one guy in a hose and so many people on, and we got to sub-irrigate trough tables. That trough tables are a closed loop system. If we look back here, we have 6 tanks. These 3 black tanks are dedicated to hand watering, basket drip, and boom irrigation. Anything that's coming overhead. These 3 tanks are dedicated to trough watering. So anything that we have on the tables, we saw New Guineas, we saw potato vine, we saw geranium. So when we look at those 3, we might say, maybe they don't, I mean, I'm not a grower, but maybe those 3 products need 3 different recipes. So we're gonna look at that and say, how can we get 3 different recipes out to that crop? All right, so we talked about mixing fertilizer. We put our bags into the stock tanks. We've sent it through the Argus computerized control, and now we want to fill the 6 black tanks. 3 for drip, hand watering and booms, baskets, 3 for sub-irrigation. Here are the valves that correspond with those 6 tanks. So what Argus does, Priva, Hogan Dorn, Ritter, what they do is they put a play on this, saying, I want this valve every time tank 1 calls for water, and there's a pressure transducer in there, it says, I'm down to 20%, I need water. Argus says, this valve fills tank 1, and every time we run that valve, we want 1.2 EC of 12,044 at 6 pH. Every time we run this valve, tank 2, it gets 1.8 EC of 12,044 with 5.5 pH, and so forth. All the valves have a gameplay set to them that every time one of those tanks calls for water, that valve opens and the injector makes that recipe. Nobody's touching anything. Computer's doing it. It's selecting the recipe. If it can't make the EC setting it wants to, then it's going to get a low EC alarm. The system will shut off. The grower will come here and see that the stock tank is empty. How many growers have used proportional injectors, ran out of stock solution, and watered without fertilizer and didn't know it for an hour or 6? Horrible. When we want to water plants and we want to put in feed, we want to be intentional and we want to be correct. So the irrigation system should know that we are the right recipe, that we are the right flow rate, and that we have a concentration that's steady all the time, every time. That was just a little side note, very important. Now, these are filling the tanks. These tanks here are 3 recipes. For the sake of argument, the recipe we need for potato vine, the recipe we need for geraniums, the recipe we need for New Guinea sunshine impatiens, for instance. Here we have a pump system. This pump system, I'm not the thin man I used to be, has 3 selection valves. They're air actuated butterfly valves. They are tied to the 3 trough tables. When Argus says we're going to water a group of tables, the grower says, I want valves 1 through 15 from tank A, 16 through 22, tank B, 23 to 50, tank C. However, Argus then selects the valve that corresponds with the proper tank, turns on the valves out in the greenhouse, start to water trough tables. That trough table watering is now going. About 8 to 10 minutes later, we start getting return water. I'm gonna ask my cameraman to step backwards, straight, without falling over anything. Doing great, Derek. Good job. Little further. Perfect. We come to the cloth filter. The return water from all the trough tables, all the sub-irrigation, is coming back. It's coming over this cloth filter, where we are stripping it down to 25 micron. That's getting rid of leaf bits, root hairs, perlite, and peat moss. All of that's coming out. So we have a nice, clean system. It goes into this transfer tank underneath it because it goes through gravity. It goes through the transfer tank goes back to the tank we started with, and that's the closed loop. From this tank to the crop, to the cloth filter, to the tank, to the pump, to the crop, to the drain pit, to the cloth filter, to the tank, and so on. And we're going to do that until we're done watering potato vine. When we're done watering potato vine, we're going to stop. We're going to wait for the rest of the return water to come, 10-15 minutes. Then we're going to say, hey Argus, next set of benches, geraniums. The geranium valve will open. We'll start watering geranium tables. Geranium table water will come back, cloth filter, back to geranium tank. Every time this tank draws down, because plants are using the water, Argus says, oh, hey, wait a minute, we're down 30%, add water. So it's maintaining the water level we need so that we always have water to water the crop. We got a closed, fully recirculated system. This system, these tanks, we're running about 4 acres of trough tables right now. Behind me are 3 other tanks. I'm sure you're asking the question, well, what are those tanks for? How are we going to use those tanks? These tanks are for drip systems. So this might be for Boston ferns. This might be for begonias. This might be for geraniums. And those are the 3 recipes. And we're going to send this through booms, we're going to send it through hand watering, and we're going to send it through drip systems. And so I'm just going to change positions with my cameraman. These 3 pumps are dedicated to those 3 tanks. Now, we put this in maybe 10 years ago, and we know that the farm is growing, and we're actually just getting to that point today. We're going to put a second pump in these vacant spots so that we can increase the flow. Right now we're doing about 120 gallons a minute. We're going to crank that up to 240 gallons a minute per recipe. So, my begonia tank is tied to these pumps. We're going to be a lead and a lag. We're going to have 2 drives. So when this pump can't keep up because the demand is so great, the second pump will kick in so that we get pressure on the low flow hand watering, even if one basket system is running, but we get great pressure and even fertilizer because we made a tank of it, so it's very homogenized, it's very correct, we're gonna get that recipe anywhere that we wanna send it. How do we send it? Well, we have these lines here. We have our fresh line, feed 1, feed 2, feed 3, because you saw the freshwater pumps here at the beginning of the video. You saw the 3 recipe pumps for baskets, booms, and drip. And then up here, it's a little bit deceiving. This pipe goes the other way out to the mum field. So we're not gonna pay attention to that top one. When we look at these 3 lines, these 4 lines, I now have a greenhouse where I have to the right of me, your left, to the right I have about 6 acres. Left I got 6 acres. Behind me, 6, 6, again, 6. So what we do is we bring 2 lines from each wing all the way back to this area. Now I can select what recipe. So the 2 lines I have to my right have maybe they want fresh and feed 1. The 2 lines to my left, because they're doing calabacoas and begonias, maybe they want feed 1 and feed 2 no fresh. Because the other range is straight ferns, maybe they only need a different recipe. So they can select 2 recipes for each wing of the greenhouse. Now, this is great when you're coming into spring. You have all these young plants that have different needs. The reality is when we get to May and it's all hands on deck, we just make all 3 tanks the same recipe and we just push a lot of water out. Because we can, when everything is pumping, we can then push 2, 4, 6, almost 900 gallons a minute out to this farm. So that keeps everybody full of pressure, keeps everybody the water they want, and they all get the right recipe where they want it at the right concentration every time. We have tremendous crop quality. And so for record gardens, it's important that all the plants that go out meet a specification that exceed what their customers are expecting. And so when we're growing all these different plants, and I know all you growers, it's such a challenging job to understand what crops to do, how many different varieties, how to treat them so that you get the best out of them, because we're pushing all of our plants to the limits. This gives this grower the opportunity to get the right feed to the right plants so that the growers on the one side of the farm get what they need and the growers on the other side of the farm get what they need, and there's no babysitting in the irrigation room. They can log it all, they can see it all on Argus, they can see all of that data that they're tracking, they have the history that they can go back to. What did we do last year? How do we want to do that? And so all of that are tools for the grower. And so that's how we get beautiful crops. Thanks to Record Gardens for allowing us to be a partner for so many years. They've been a tremendous partner of ours, as many of our customers. We have so many customers across North America that do such a great job, and we're humbled by the opportunity to partner with them and help them increase profits and remove excuses from the irrigation.